something really euphoric about the mill as a place. You just fall in love with it, don't you? It's just the most beautiful space.
Young bands coming into that environment, which is quite secluded.
Yeah.
I imagine some, Apocalypse Now style moments.
Yeah. Well, the first time I ever went down the Sawmills was actually, I was working with a band called 11th House, and they booked some time at the Sawmills. And I was obviously aware of the Sawmills, but I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anybody there at the time. So I went down just to league, and it's like, wow, it's fucking amazing. But while we were setting up, the quad amp that was driving the tannoys blew up. So I fixed it.
I think I first went down there when I was like 15. And I remember recording some songs with our band and just coming into the control room and hearing it and thinking, wow, how have you made it sound like that? Because we record rehearsals and it doesn't sound like that.
So I was there originally for probably about a year, maybe, just messing about doing this and that with what was there, the old Ampex tape machine. And then we stripped it and put the Trident in. And rewired the whole place, and got it all up and running.
The 90s, Sawmills just suddenly became infested with Britpop and indie.
Yeah.
Why did that happen? Why then?
The stuff like that John Leckie did with the Verve and Stone Roses, Fool's Gold was done there, so I think that kind of really put it on the map from an indie point of view.
What's the most common mistake an artist will make when they go into the studio for the first time?
Not completely understanding the process, not being prepared, quite often getting out of it, probably a bit too often for the good of the record, and not realising that actually they're going to pay for this at the end of the day.
What's the nicest thing one of your clients has said about you?
I think for me, probably the best accolade happened recently, really, and it was on a re-release of the early years Muse stuff. And there's a bit in there where Matt says, I didn't feel like a singer until I worked with Paul Reeve. And I got an immense amount of pleasure from that. And he said, up to that point, I would always really bury my vocal. You can't bury a voice like that, can you? It's magic.
What's the best part of making records for you?
I think it's just seeing the band kind of enjoying what they're doing and having a good time with it. I mean, it's great to get chart success with it, but that's not the be-all and end of it, I think. Obviously not as far as the record company's concerned, but,
I love that feeling when you've got somebody who has done a vocal and they come in, they listen to it, and they go, wow, that's all right, isn't it? And I love that. And that kind of ties in with my first experience at the Sawmills, coming in, listening to my vocal, going, flippin' heck, that's good, isn't it? I mean, all of music is about catching emotion and catching performance, but especially singing. It's so important.
What's the best piece of advice you've received during your career?
Record everything. Always have the red light on. Don't miss a performance.
And finally, is there an artist you've always wanted to work with but haven't had the opportunity to yet?
I'd love to have recorded Led Zeppelin, but obviously it can't happen. But I have worked with Robert Plant, so that was fantastic. And I was absolutely shitting myself when I had to first press record on him doing his vocals. I was like, I had to use 2 hands to hit the record button initially. But he was fantastic, actually, Robert. He's really laid back, and you think for such a rock god, he's such a level human being. And a lovely man, he would just put everybody at ease, and he loved his time at Sawmills as well, which is nice.
How do you feel about Sawmills going on the market?
I am a bit sad. I absolutely get why that type of industries doesn't really exist anymore, and it's great that everyone's a producer and everyone knows how to do it and all that sort of stuff. I get that broadly that's a positive thing for music, but it is a shame when those places like the Sawmills go. But who knows? Depends who buys it, doesn't it?
Well, it's interesting speaking to Dennis about it recently. He said, well, it's got to be the right person, otherwise I'd rather not.
That means he's never going to sell it.